You are now entering the Thick Goddess Energy Morning Show. We in the building. High priestess in the building, didn't let my fears kill me. Transmuted my pain in that cleanse in the rain. Found out I was working and I conquered my demons. I accepted my purpose and the goddess I became. It over Zoom. We are live. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get my share on. Good morning. Good morning. I know the notifications are going out. So we are going to give it a few minutes as those notifications go out.
How do I share it? Because I have share here, but I can only share like slides and video file, I guess, with everybody.
Right. So I'm going to give you the share because I have to get it off of my page. I wish there was an easier way to do it through StreamYard. When I
Oh,
have
I
the
found it.
pre-recorded ones, I'm able to like give the link, of course, because it's pre-recorded. But when it's live, it's a little bit different, so it's a little bit harder. But I'm sending you the direct link to the live right now on the Facebook page. But of course,
Awesome.
I'm streaming on 4 different pages right now.
Right.
Good morning, Jesse. Good morning, T. Good morning, Shondell. It is a live show this morning. Good morning, Jasmine. So welcome to the Thick Goddess Energy Morning Show. I'm your host, Divine Moon Goddess. I have a special guest with me this morning, Silvia. We're going to be talking about her journey. We're going to be talking about mediumship, and we're going to be talking about life purposes and whatever else comes up, because I think we just kind of go along with with
Right.
what's coming up in the topic of choice. So letting those notifications go out a little bit. I'm gonna share the live from my business page. So wherever you guys are watching this morning, of course, we're on YouTube, we're in the Soul Tribe group, and we're on both of my business pages. So wherever you are, that's where you are, and that's fine. I know, Jesse. You remember Sylvia? Can
Wait,
you
how, where do you see the
can you
comments?
see
It's
the
just
comments? You should be able to see. I don't know how you would fix it on your end to see the comments.
oh yes, here they are. Sorry, it was a private chat that I was on. I was like,
Oh, okay. So yeah, if you guys didn't know, Sylvia is actually one of the first people that I even started learning mediumship with. And so if you guys think I'm awesome, you guys haven't seen her in action, because she's one of the first mediums for me to learn from. Mediumship. It seems so long ago, though. It seems like forever.
yeah, it was like 2019, 2020.
Yeah, time does fly. I feel like time always flies by when you're having fun, because that's
Yeah.
kind of the deal. You're having fun and like boom, all you know, it's years have passed by. So, and it's crazy that we've been friends on Facebook the whole time.
Yes.
And it's crazy that, spirit does this thing where we just kind of vanish from each other's path. And then all of a sudden I saw the live you were doing. Now, I don't know if that was your husband or if you were doing a live. Okay. And you just, boom, you popped up and I'm like, oh shit, she's live. And I just kind of had a couple minutes, popped on and just was listening. And you guys were talking about like Bitcoin and shit like that. And I was like, interested in it because I've been looking into all of these things and you guys just happen to pop up and I was like, it's funny how spirit is
No,
like,
it is extremely funny. You know why? Because it was like, why are you streaming on Facebook? Your spiritual people don't listen to these things. I'm like, you never know. So maybe you had to stream just for you to look at that 2 seconds and
right,
for us to reconnect.
yes, right. Because at the time I was creating this morning show and
Mm,
I was thinking of like all of the people that had touched my life or that I have worked with or have studied with or learned from. And of naturally in December, I was doing women's empowerment also. So I wanted to focus on all of these great women that have touched my life in some way, shape, or form. And so I just started, and it was like, boom, okay. So I'm like, okay, spirit, here we go. And that's
oh,
how it's been. Just spirit is always realigning me with so many people, and it's
mm,
been awesome just to kind of have that kick coming back. But so if you guys information of where to find Sylvia is going to be in the description, her website, her Facebook page and IG. If you guys want to go and look her up and work with her, work from her, learn from her, definitely can do. I'm not doing cards right now. Anyone coming on, this is the morning show, definitely different from that. But good morning, you guys. Thank you guys for coming on. Remember, this morning show is sponsored by Divine Moon Goddess Healers and Readings.com, where your questions get answered. Remember that for the month of January, 15% off if you use the code Ascension22 at checkout. So that'll get you a discount.
Ooh.
And if you're looking for any of the classes, those are in the shop. I've changed it because I'm not doing live classes right now, you guys. They're all pre recorded from the past. Last semesters, I say semesters, the only one's like a semester is tarot, but from the past, in the last couple months, you'll see the last recorded version that I did because we're in transition. And so I'm transitioning to another platform. So for right now, I'm not going to be doing any live classes. So it's just pre-recorded, learn at your own pace. Okay. So if anyone had questions, I think a couple people were kind of asking me about that. So it's under shop. If you're looking for that, you have to look under shop on the website. So let's just jump into it. Of course, I want you to just kind of talk about, what you do, who you are, and then we're going to kind of jump into your journey of what brought you here because I had came across that post and it was phenomenal of you just talking about your journey to get here, which is huge. So let's jump into that.
Hmm. You know what I was thinking this morning while I was in the bathroom? I have these moments of these epiphanies in the bathroom, but I was thinking about how once we are on the other side, like once we leave the body, usually people on the other side ask us like, so how did you get here? Like,
Right,
how was life on earth? And it's like, oh, I got here and I did all these things and this is how I got here. So I'm like, if I look back at those pictures from 8 or 9 years ago, it just feels like another lifetime. So I'm like, how did I get here? Oh my goodness, it is like so much, so many quantum leaps forward, so many breakthroughs, just so many things that allow me to be where I am, which was already who I was in potential, but I hadn't tapped into this potential yet.
right,
So So every time that I see somebody that is like, oh, I, I call myself a medium, but we are all mediums. So I never want for people to think like, oh, she is a medium, and that's why my purpose is to help others understand that they are mediums, and then what you're doing, help others understand that they are mediums, because mediumship and our connection with ourselves and with spirit is something that is gonna be our sixth sense completely developed, just like it's our touch is developed, our sight is developed, our taste, our earring, all these senses are super developed, and now we use them every day, and we are going to be using that connection with spirit every day. So that's interesting. My question would be, okay, so once we are all connected all the time, then what are we going to be doing? How are we going to be living? And we'll discover, right? But for now, we have to create containers in which we can share what we know with others, and they learn a little bit from you, and then a little bit from me, and then a little bit from a book, and then they make their own truth. um,
right,
this is something else that I always say when I start talking about my personal experience. My experience is my experience, that is very different from yours. My truth is very subjective. um, I can share it with others, but I'm not trying to ever impose it on others, because I personally learn the most when I have my personal direct experiences with things. And so I know that this is how we all truly learn. So, if somebody from high school or from college sees me, they're going to be like, wait, she's talking about spirit? Is she gone completely crazy? Because I studied physics. I love maths, and I love biology and chemistry and all this very scientific stuff.
right.
And I would have never ever thought in 1,000 years that I would be here talking about metaphysical stuff. But I am here doing it because I have the proof for myself. And
Mm,
I was a super skeptic, people think, oh, you're a medium, so you believe everything that everybody says, all this bullshit. No, not
okay.
necessarily. No, no. You need you I wanted, to know that this was real, and to know that what I was doing was not trying to, how do you say, not betray, cannot find the word, scam anybody, right? Like,
Right.
I I had a big problem with that. I'm like, God, if you exist, I cannot give hope to people. I cannot give these things and say these things if they're not true. So, and I received a lot of spiritual experiences. But before going there, I know that you talk about this in your morning show, and I talk about it all the time. It's like my mission. One of my mission is to bring awareness to suicide, overdose, all these topics that are very uncomfortable for people to talk about. Death, nobody wants to talk about death. Let's distract ourselves as if like, at some point, you're
Right.
gonna die. You know.
Right. It's like you're born, you die. There's no getting around that.
Right, right. But it scares us so much, and it scared me so much. Like, that was like my number one fear. And when I was little, I would have these experiences where I would get up at nighttime and just speak languages that my mom couldn't understand, and she would freak out. So when she would tell me, I would freak out. So, fast forwarding, when my grandmother died, when I was 7, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna stop believing in God, because God took my mom, and nobody is able to tell me why or where she went, because there is no understanding whatsoever of death. And so everybody says, oh, it's in the sky, it's a star in the sky. It's like, what the fuck? I'm a child, but it doesn't mean that I'm stupid. Like, you cannot tell me that my grandma now is a star without telling me the in between, right? So
Right.
there was a huge contradiction or disconnection there. And I remember stopped believing in God, consciously taking that decision, and dreaming the Blessed Mother, which freaked me out, basically telling me, just with the symbol, in Italian means like, be careful because I'm about to spank your booty. And I was like very, very scared. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what does that mean? And years later, I mean, I had this intuitive message for a long time,
Mhm.
without acknowledging it, which was, without faith, your life is not going to be well. So be careful in that sense.
Right.
And yeah, without faith, I really couldn't see the purpose of life. In my teenage years, I came here as an exchange student when I was 17, because I had the American dream. And, I would see these movies with the lockers and the cheerleaders and soccer players. I'm like, I want to go there. And when I got here, um, I was alone without, my mom or my family, and s- stuff started getting real for me, like my thoughts. And um, because that's another thing, we are not taught, and we do not teach children to express their emotions, to um, observe their thoughts, things that should be taught. Like, in order to know how to be a functional human, you need to learn those things.
Right.
But we don't. We prefer to teach them like multiplications and the religion of India, and all these things, that history, which is great. It's like, okay, I am feeling angry, or I'm feeling jealous. Like, how do I deal with this very strong emotion?
Right.
So, anyways, I was there. I was here in the United States with those strong emotions. I didn't speak English very well, even though I studied it for many, many years. But you see, studying it in Italy, where they kind of like, you're never going to use this, you're never going to use that. It was, I didn't learn it well. So, people don't like to have patience, at least when they are teenagers, to just sit there and say like, what are you saying? Let me help you, and let me help you. So anyways, um my host mom was basically triggering me in that moment. This woman was somebody that hosted me, and she would tell me, because I would eat normally. I'm Italian. I eat. I love to eat. And she would say, "You're gonna get fat. You're gonna get fat. You're gonna get fat." And I was like, you know what? Just stop it. I'm not listening to you. But then things were getting more intense, and she would like look at me every time that I was eating, and if I was opening the fridge. And anyways, I was not feeling comfortable eating at all. And I started just spending a lot of time at the gym because there was a bar and I could eat and whatever. But then um, I was not trained, or my mind was not disciplined enough, was very fragile. So when she started saying, those things to me again, um, I took it very personal, and I started to vomit and stop eating, and I entered a cycle of bulimia and depression and anorexia and stuff. And that's when the suicidal thoughts came in the equation. And they've been with me for a long time, for like 4 or 5 years, until I was like 21. When I tried to, I smile about it now, because water has always been like my biggest fear. But there was a moment when I finished working. I was working at the beach, 5 years after, entering that cycle. I was already not vomiting anymore. I was not anorexic anymore. But the suicidal thoughts were like, oh my gosh, just haunting me. Like, what's the purpose of life? Why am I running around? Like, why am I saving money? What am I trying to do? Even if I go study, all these things.
Right.
Um, and it was the last day of my work on the beach. I was renting, boats and stuff. And it was awesome to have a beach as an office, um, in something in a land that is considered like world heritage.
Mm.
So it cannot be touched and stuff. It would look like Hawaii, beautiful. I was still depressed, and I was like, how is that possible? So the last day I tried to drown. I went inside of the water, and I'm like, okay, this is my last moment. And I went down, uh, and all of a sudden I feel somebody tapping on my shoulder, and you know I got scared, and it was this guy. And he was like, what are you doing? I'm like, swimming. Like, not even like when I'm trying to
Right.
have control over my life, I can do that anyways. So, and I tried in the past as well, even when I was here as an exchange student. um and seeing that I couldn't. I was like, God, if you exist, because I was still an atheist, if you exist, like, why are you leaving me here? Why should I suffer?
Right.
um I want a bigger mission, a bigger purpose. If you want for me to be here, I don't want to be a waitress all my life and work for somebody else all my life. And I guess asking you shall receive, right? Like,
Right.
that's the pivotal moment. I guess that's the pivotal moment, because that's when everything started for me, little by little. Of course, it has been a process, but discovered spiritism. Then a friend of mine died, and I was like, how can a person be here and then not be here anymore? Um, and that's when my research started. That's how I got into mediumship. I didn't think that I could be a medium.
Mhm.
And that is why I practiced a lot. I facilitated a lot. I taught a lot, because by teaching, I was kind of like forced to study whatever I needed to study. And um, yeah, so I didn't think that I could be a medium. Um, and now I'm here having a course in February, which is called "You Are a Medium." So, um, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. A lot of people don't realize when it comes to suicide, right? And thoughts, suicidal thoughts, when you're getting into that place. And most people, that's it. It's like, how can you be depressed if your life is so good? You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like, how can you be, you're in this moment, this beautiful scenery, you have this
mm,
opportunity that most people don't get, and it's that constant, you hear it all the time. How can this person, but in the moment, what you're feeling, that that lack of purpose or that lack of being, I want to call it, it's like that lack of being.
I
Because
love that.
I went through that like almost my whole life of feeling that way, and never
Mm,
could shake it. No matter what I did, no matter where I worked, no matter how good the position was, it just never was fulfilling. It just never filled that space. And I always ended up getting back to this place of depression, this place of sadness, this place of, why am I even here? And I
mm,
people who come, and I'm not saying no one, like, that only so many people have a purpose, because I think everyone has their own purpose of what they're supposed to do. It just, if it comes to you or not, or if you get in those moments to really see it. Um, but I love how that, even though you got taken to these very dark times, and I can definitely feel you on that, but you still decided to, here we go. This is what it is, and you saw it, because the biggest thing is when you ask is to see,
Hmm.
because sometimes spirit is like showing you, and we're like missing the clues, the breadcrumbs, right?
Hmm.
Lack of being needed, Janelle. Yeah. Um, I think that falls along with that. Just why are you here, right?
Hmm.
Because if money's not it, and that's not
Hmm.
getting to you, or if if just going to school, or working your 9 to 5 or whatever that is, right? It's not fulfilling. It's like, well, what is? And if you
Hmm.
go into those spaces without faith, I agree with that very strongly. Not saying you have to go back to religion, and we're not talking about religion, but faith in something greater than self.
Hmm.
I believe that's hugely, hugely the reason why we get lost, not having that connection with source. We're disconnected from very young. We're broken away from our source creator. Whether you believe in the universe, God, or whoever, once you get that separation, I think that's what causes it um,
Hmm.
deeply. And if we're not taught, right, how to reconnect, I think that's one of the biggest things that we lack.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's actually, you are saying something that reminded me that once I had my experiences and discovered, oh shit, I am not alone. There is something bigger. There is a hope. It's there. My beg to God was, allow me to share this with the world. Allow me to help people find their connection with you, which is inside, that you, that God, inside, outside, everywhere, um, in my own unique way. Allow me to express that. Allow me to create that. And God was like, yeah, sure. That's exactly what you were supposed to do from the beginning. Just find your own connection and then help others find theirs. It could be through all the talents that you have. Like I sing and play, I discovered that it's not just like to be pretty or for vanity. It's like, no, you're supposed to use your voice that I hated so much.
Right,
That voice that I've always hated, always judged. No, you're supposed to use it for the great spirit's purposes, to enlighten people, to bring hope to people, you know?
right,
And then if you want to judge it, but at least use it for the good. Playing the guitar, same thing. Dancing, same thing. Reading the cards, doing readings, doing sessions, doing classes on gratitude, on journaling, on whatever you want to create. Whatever is something that you explore that truly helped you can put it out there. Because believe it or not, there are people that need it. We are going to send you the people that need it. It might not be 50 people, because 50 people might not be the ones for you, but maybe 100, or maybe 20, or maybe 2, or maybe 5, depending on what you're doing, and depending on the level at which you're doing it, which is not like higher or lower level. It's just like a different vibration, a different, you know, frequency.
right,
So yeah, it's good stuff. Life is good. At the end is, I realized that this is exactly what I wanted. I really wanted to have the ability to express my uniqueness and not care about anybody's judgment, but not even like in an arrogant way. Like spirit has humbled me over and over and keeps on humbling me. So it's not that I don't care about what other think. The thing is that I am not what others think. Now I know that I am not what you think. You can look at me and say like whatever, right? I'm not that. So that just brings a lot of confidence back into the equation, which is a calm and restful confidence. It's not like a fake one. And I see that in you, and I recognize it in people now.
right,
Before, I might have been deceived by somebody that has, I don't know, like a tie or a bow, or it's
right,
pretty, or I would have been deceived. And sometimes, people like that are humble and everything, right? But
right,
what I'm saying is that now I feel and I trust that feeling, because all the classes that I've taken, all the mentors that I had were trying to tell me, trust that feeling.
Right.
My intuition itself was like, hey, just trust me.
Right.
And, it's like everything, not just trust. And I'm like, no, but I need something. No, but just trust it.
It's like I need
So,
the proof. I need some proof. I do agree, T. Once you really start to find your true, authentic self, and I don't like me. I always say I don't think I'm 100% there yet, but I'm way closer to my true, authentic self than I was a couple years ago. And I think that is just really doing like Sylvia said, like honoring the beautiful gifts that you were given. And by the way, she has an amazing voice, and she can play the guitar. You guys, I've actually seen her videos and heard her voice, and she actually has an amazing voice. And it's those things of just taking these things that you love, not even that you're like a fucking expert on, right? Not that you have to be an expert on it, because I think a lot of people think like, oh, I can't do this because I have to be an expert and I can't teach this or show this or talk about this because I'm not experienced. But no, you have a lot of life experience, and the things that you love and are passionate about, it comes out even better because you have a passion. I realized early on, for me, I'm a teacher by nature. I love to teach. Doesn't matter what it is. I just love to get that information out there. And I love to see people learning because they get excited about it. Now, of
mm,
course, I don't want to teach something that's boring to me. Why would I
mm,
want to do that? Right? There's
mm,
like no sense. So it was like, okay, ding, 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 spiritual teacher. When even in my path, I thought I was like, yeah, I'm going to be this YouTube tarot reader. Like I tell everyone that, yeah, I was going to be this YouTube tarot reader. Not spirits like, no, we have a better use for you.
mm. I
Um,
love that. And I love your shirt. Can you please show your shirt?
oh,
Be
be real
real,
perfect.
not perfect. I like the repetition. Yeah.
It is, because society has this thing of what we should be, even like as a medium, right? Because even
Right.
like before I sat, one of the things I learned from you was to figure out who I was as a medium. And that's where I got that concept from. And I teach it in my class. I teach it in my mediumship class. It's learn your style of mediumship. Not everybody needs to be Teresa Caputo or John Holland or what is this? I think it's John Edwards and all of these top names and TV shows. Not everybody has to be on that grand scale. You can create change on whatever vibration you're at. The same thing you're talking about is that vibration you're on. And some people think, well, that's small, and your purpose is never small. Every person that you touch, like even when you're saying, like, there may be 50 people, those 50 people that you touch are going to then tell other people about their experience. And it's like that ripple effect that just keeps going
Absolutely.
out. And
Mm,
that's something that I had to realize about myself, which was stepping into my confidence and understanding that we are all unique beings. And however that comes out, that's what we have to run with. Like
mm,
that's our true gift. It's not to be like this person or master this in that way. And I gotta repeat it, or somehow a lot of people get afraid to say who they learned from or who they studied with, and it's like, why? Where's the fear coming with? There's no competition. There's hundreds of people who need help out here. I never understood that part either. It's
I
like,
like that you said there is no competition. It took me a while to understand that because some people are very competitive and it's like, oh,
right,
this is better than your. And I was like, oh my goodness, there is always somebody better than me. There is always going to be somebody better than me. But there is also going to be people that resonate with me. And there is space for me. There is space for all of us. We
right,
need to get together and collaborate rather than try to do our own thing and try to keep, my people and trying to attract people and take people from you. And it's like, that's very
right.
stressing. So
It
I love
is.
what you say. There is no competition.
I
It's
learned that in the beginning because that's how the world is. From little, you're taught to compete. Everything is a
mm,
competition. With that mindset, you stay in the lack. And that's something that I got. Spirit handed me a really huge, really huge eye opener with the
mm,
lack mindset of, because you can't stay in there, especially in a spiritual path. There's just no room for it. You'll do good for a little while as soon as you're in that lack, and then you'll drop back into that lack because you're missing the point. You're missing the full point. And I think that's something that I think we all got to learn in the beginning, that there is no competition and we're all kind of learning and growing together, and there's no need. But a lot of people don't get the memo. I think a lot of people just, their ego or whatever it is, unhealed, call it unhealed shit. I don't know.
I
Well,
love
the thing is, I agree. There is people better than you. Look, it's something that you have to come to terms with, because if you sit, there's two different things of this is how I kind of see it. There's two different ways to look at yourself. There's one where you're in ego and you think you're better than everyone. That's all your ego. That's not your higher self. Your higher self does not compete with anyone. You never are better or worse. You just are. Like, I'm just me. I'm perfect in my own way, right? But there will be someone who can sing better than me. There will be someone who maybe can articulate their words better than me, or
that.
fucking, I don't know, something cook better than me. There's always someone that specializes in something. You don't have to put yourself down to realize that. That's what we're trying to say, and I hope you guys are understanding what we mean. You don't have to put yourself down to acknowledge that this person is great at what they do, and you don't have to make yourself feel like shit for it. But there are some people that just, they're going to be better at some things than you are, and that's okay, you know.
Hmm. I love what you're saying. Yes, I am great. I like that, Mr. God sent folk. You are great. Yes, we are just learning. Even yesterday, I was at a live circle from women. It was so powerful. We are just so used to shrink ourselves and make ourselves small, like to leave space for who, what exactly? Like when I studied Spiritism and I learned that it might have taken centuries to come back on Earth. It might have taken, I don't know how much work or how many years or time of service over there to have the chance to come back here so that we could do all our dreams. We could weave all our dreams together and bring here what we knew that we were about to bring here. And that's why we came back. And then we are here and we just get so lost. We
Right.
got so lost. And thank God, when we arrive to those moments of dark times, I believe that there is always somebody that is sent our way that can try to take us. I mean, when I was working at the beach over there, like there were people like they were trying to make me see life for what it was. But in my mind, I was like, now that I look back, I realize how ungrateful I was. It all
Right.
comes down to that. And how again I was just trying to be an individual and just think about my career, my me, and that brings lack. So now when I am lacking, I'm like, okay, there is something that I'm not doing right. What am I not doing right? And recently it was, I was finding excuses like, oh, I'm a new mom, and I don't know how to do this and to do that, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do, Spirit? And Spirit was like, oh, live videos on Facebook. I'm like, no, no, anything but that. So what am I supposed to do? Well, a YouTube channel. I'm like, no, but something else. Okay, readings. No, come on, something. I'm like, okay, look, we're telling you what you have to do. Then you decide, and you can stay here forever. And
Right.
because when the light was, okay, you have to learn about yourself. I mean, not necessarily means that, oh, okay, now that I know what I have to do, it's easy. It
Mhm.
requires work, it requires commitment, it requires, constant forgiveness, self forgiveness of yourself, because you're like, okay, I want to do this and I'm gonna try my best, and then you deviate, or you get upset. Sometimes I remember I would get angry. I'm like, oh, I ruined all this month of spirituality or whatever, as if like I can now get angry, right?
Right.
So it really like a constant work of self acceptance, self love, self forgiveness. And what you were saying, like everything is connected. It's not like, oh, mediumship, you talk to people that have crossed over, that's it. And you do it this way. You say, oh, I have a man, he's 45 years old. You have all these structures. Like, what is this? No, this is one of the possible ways in which you can connect with spirit. There are infinite ways. There are so many ways. And not only that, we have our own way. And how do you discover it? Well, just by trying and practicing and, putting yourself out there and showing up. And I realized that like people like you, people like me, we are the ones that have to show up. We cannot expect for others to show up. We're
Right.
always like, oh, she's so talented or this and that. Like oh, you should be this. You should go to the boys. You should, like, no, you do you. And then I learned from your example. Okay, so I had to create my own website because I'm like, oh, I cannot, I don't have the money to pay for somebody. Okay, I created my own website. I'm like, I have the capabilities of learning how to do that. I gave myself a couple of days. All these years I tried to create it and then just left it there and left it there. This time with the baby, I was crying one day and I looked at the baby in the eyes. I'm like, mommy is not giving up this time. She is gonna give her best. She is not gonna go back. And I was crying and he was laughing as if I was, making faces or something. And I realized that he was telling me, finally, you understand that my purpose here is to help you step into your purpose, because now that I am back, people are literally telling me, I was waiting for you. People have been receiving messages themselves in dreams and stuff, and from their intuition, they were waiting for me. And I'm like, wow, by not showing up in the way that I could have, I allowed these people to just suffer for X amount of months when they could have started their healing process, or, they could have received hope months and months ago if I only believed in myself and if I only stopped looking for excuses to not show up. This is
Right.
very vulnerable and very personal what I'm sharing here. I'm like, oh shit.
It's,
But it's the truth.
it is definitely deep, and it gets that deep. It's like, I was thinking of, even in the beginning of my path, one of the things that I had to realize was that part of how do I connect, not how someone else connects, and really focus on how I connect. And I did in the beginning. This is where I say I don't. You'll always recognize that people are gifted in certain ways, whether you feel it's better for you, but you don't compare yourself. The trick is not to compare yourself to someone else's gifts. In the beginning, I did. I'd be like, well, why does this person see a ghost and I don't see them that way, right? Why is this person talking and I don't hear it that way? And it's something that you just have to understand, that we all tap in, we all connect differently, and you have to do the work. What she's saying, do the work, is not just making that shit up. You have to show up. You have to sit still. You have to get in those meditative states. You have to get into those sit with spirit moments. You have to, the journaling, the paying attention, the watching countless hours of other people who fucking do this shit, right?
Yes.
It's just nonstop. And one of the things that it allowed me to do was creating my own space, was to do the fucking work.
Exactly.
You have to do the work. There's no going around it. You can't say, "Oh, I can't tap in and I'm not this and I'm not that," if you don't show up. And that's one of the biggest things. It's like you already have it. It's already there. We were born with these gifts.
Mhm.
We just weren't taught how. And then, like Divergent, you talked about that you were raised to believe that your gifts were the devil or a part of the devil. And so there's people like that were either meant to feel like it was, something satanistic to talk to a past loved one or see spirits, or like myself, who saw shadow people. I didn't see people in spirit, I saw shadow people. So that was very scary as a kid. It was always like, oh, that's your bad dreams and that's not real and that's your imagination, even though I could feel the breath of, spirit next to me in my room would scare the shit out of me. There was all these things of like, but you thought you were crazy, so you just kind of wrote it off like, no, that's not
Mhm.
real. Oh yeah, where I definitely don't believe in competition. There's moments that I have allowed myself to fall back into that mindset, and it's always taken me back to a place of lack. And I just refuse to ever go back there. I don't believe that we ever need to compete against each other. And I do believe that if we work together, we can spread our messages way further than we can by ourselves.
Mhm.
And I'm a firm believer of sharing my platform. You guys have seen me do this constantly since I got up here. I'm always sharing my platform. I just feel like you have to remember that collective coming together is way bigger than self. And so when you learn that your purpose is not just you by yourself, you do what you can and then you collaborate. That is phenomenal. And I feel like that's like that's like high powered shit right there.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, love the comments here.
Yeah, we ugh, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead, go ahead. I have so many things that I would like to share, so I'm like, let me
Get
say
what
it
you're I
myself.
was just gonna say on the deprogramming, definitely have to deprogram from what you think you know. That's one of the biggest blocks is that part. Everything that you thought you knew, throw it out the window. You just toss it. Just toss it. Bye. No more.
Hmm. I have actually on my website. It's so funny that you use the word deprogram because it says my coaching method or the way that I work, and the first part is deprogram. It's exactly that, because one of my mentors, Eileen Davis, used to say, and still does. She says, "You already are a medium. You just need to realize that, and you realize that by removing everything that is not allowing you to see what you already are." If I were to tell you, okay, you're a woman or you're a human, you're like, no, 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 I'm a dog. Just the fact that you think that you're a dog doesn't mean that you're a dog. You're still a human. So let me help you realize that you are a human. And humans are magical. We are supernatural. We are made of stardust with we are alchemized elements. Is I mean, it just doesn't have words to describe what we are and our potential. But what you were saying, create containers in which you do the work, because what's what's the good of having this ability, this superpower, whatever that is, if you do not use it for the good?
Right.
The universe doesn't waste energy or gifts to somebody that doesn't know what to do with them, right? And abundance is not a matter of how much you have, but what you do with what you already have, right? And
Right.
that took me a lot to understand. I always wanted this more and more and more, but I'm like, I already have more than what I need to get
Right.
started. What is my
Right.
problem? My problem is, the first steps. Why? And then my son teaches me persistence. It's like he's not afraid of falling down. He knows that I'm gonna be there, and even if he falls, like he doesn't walk, but it's 2 months and he already wants to walk. So I see that persistence in him. I'm like, wow, he's teaching me persistence. He's teaching me trust. He's teaching me all these things. He trusts me with his life. When I think that I don't have my shit together, he decides to come to earth knowing that there is zero money on my account. How, where is he taking this faith from? So I'm like, if he had faith, it's because he knows something that I do not know. He knows where I am going, and I'm just looking at where I am and thinking that I am not supposed to be here, but I don't know how to move away from here. So I realized that having all this spiritual knowledge does not good to you. It's like accumulating karma. It's like accumulating, yeah, knowledge for what? You need to empty the cup continuously, continuously, and not give up when only one person shows up, which actually never is the case, by the way. There is always somebody that shows up. Um, like I remember when I started doing classes, I was definitely not expecting 30 or 50 people, right? And some of them were free, some of them were donation based, and I was just experimenting,
Right.
literally, and just like sharing what I learned. And that's what we need to do once. And that's I realized that, um, and that's why doing things for free didn't work for me anymore, because I realized that when we invest money, we are investing energy and we are more present uh, to whatever we're doing. Then there are some people that, that doesn't work that way. They also give value to things that are for free. But anyways, all these things also are brought into the equation when you step into your power and you're like, okay, so what are my new thoughts about abundance, about money, about uh, God, about spirit, about religion, right? So about myself. and that's cool. I thought that the work was like going up on a mountain, but now I see it as an adventure in the park, right? Sometimes you have the scary animals. Sometimes at nighttime you hear weird stuff, and sometimes it's just date. It's like an adventure. It's not this very hard thing. It's actually very beautiful to discover like who you are. And like my voice, for example, to discover my voice and allow myself to sing without judging myself has been a discovery. It's like, holy cow, I didn't know that, you know, I could be doing this or feeling this. I always thought that it was impossible. So, yeah, it's beautiful to discover the amazing being that we truly are.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Janelle, I do agree. You know what, even the stuff that we learn, I think we learn in that moment, right? And we're going based on what we know. But I do believe if you keep yourself open for all knowledge and more knowledge, you never get caught in the I think I know it all uh, place. Because if you get caught there, you're stagnant, you're stuck. And now that's your ego. Oh, I know it all. I don't need to learn anymore. I can't learn anything else from anyone else, right? That's bullshit. You always can learn something. I learned something from my clients every freaking day. And I tell everyone that they're like, thank you. I'm like, thank you, because you don't realize that I learn
Yes.
something with each and every session that I
Yes.
do. I take something away from that. Um, and it's crazy that you just don't realize that. And as you're moving along, you're like, that was for me too. That message
Mm,
wasn't just for you. I needed that fucking message today.
yes. I have goosebumps because I feel like the mess I've been needed to hear, sister.
Oh,
Oh, Fabiola, hello. Thanks for being here. I'm glad this resonates. I believe that it resonates with all of us. We can either acknowledge that it resonates now or maybe in the future, but it does resonate because we, as being humans, being means to go through all of the emotions, and they're all okay. Um, Even when you were saying like I fall back into competition, I was I've stolen in my life. I've stolen money. I've uh, talked bad about people. I have deceived. I have betrayed. I've done things that in the past I would have said I'm not proud of. But now I realize that when I was doing those things, I was just doing something bad to myself. And if I didn't do those things, I would not know what it means that in reality I'm not stealing to anybody. I'm stealing from myself. I'm not betraying anybody. I'm betraying myself. So in order to understand all this, it's funny. You know what I realized? I'm like, oh, I want to develop this clear. For example, I want to do this thing, whatever that is. I think we think that we study about it. Like, what's clairvoyance? Oh, clairvoyance is when you see things in your mind's eye. I'm like, oh shit, I don't see anything in my mind's eye ever. Okay, I don't have
like
that
what's the
stuff.
mind's eye?
I mean, I don't have that mind. I don't have the pineal gland. I'm probably not amongst those humans. And then I realized that I experience things, and then those things have a name for me. I'm like, oh, that is what clairvoyance is.
Right,
Not what I thought it is. Not like seeing the spirit behind you and say, oh, you have your father there, he's blonde. What? No, that's not clairvoyance for me, at least. Right? I experienced it first, and then I realized what it is. So uh, we experience things in life first, I believe, and then we realize what we were trying to do, like mediumship. Why am I trying to connect with spirit? Right? What is the purpose of this? And I realized that that connection that I help others find is a connection that I need on a daily basis. The
right,
lessons that I share of love, forgiveness, compassion, whatever messages come through, whatever reminders come through, they are reminders for me. So, like what you were saying, when they're like, oh, thank you so much, that was amazing. Yeah, that was amazing. Like, I don't know how many readings I should do a day because I don't know how many messages I'm willing to,
right,
integrate every single day.
right. I wanted to go back on a point that you made about one of the things that I realized, because on all both tarot and my mediumship, I've done scholarships where I've accepted someone on a scholarship. And I noticed that more of the scholarships don't show up versus the people who pay. And I just want to make that point because a lot of people tend to think what we do should all be free and, because God blessed us with our gifts. And I always go to the same person who's that singer who's getting paid millions of dollars. They're using their God-given gift and they're
Mm,
getting paid for it. So we shouldn't be looked at any lower or less than to charge for the things we do. But I did notice that because for over a year I've done both of them, and it just is amazing how you would can give an opportunity to someone like that and they don't
they don't
show
see.
up, but the
Yeah.
person who paid the couple hundred to be there, or whatever the price is sitting there and they're attentive and they're like, I'm here. Because when you invest, that investment into yourself is worth so much more.
Mm,
There's really not a price that you can put on it. And I always go to that. Like I've spent hundreds of dollars with people in their programs and things like that because there is no price. It's priceless. What you take away from there, if you show up, if you
mm.
show up and you do the work, what you take from it is like you're going to use it for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Should you use it in the right way, right?
I love that. Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, I've done so many things, and I was trying to reduce the price and, in order to allow for everybody to have the chance. Like, not everybody wants to take that chance. Not everybody feel worthy to
Right.
take that chance. And some people like me, I personally have to work towards something in order to feel like I worked for it. I deserve it. Now it's mine. Because I remember I really wanted to do a course with Anthony Maraca. Um, and it was $250. I didn't have it. And I was like, oh my gosh, he just put like, there are 6 spots left or whatever. God, please have me have the money. And that time I was really committed. I put myself out there. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make the money in like 5 days. I'm going to give like 5 donation-based readings every day, whatever. I didn't even have the time to do that. That somebody, a friend of mine said, oh, I gifted you the course. I'm like, oh, wow,
Right.
this is
Right.
amazing. That's great. But then I was taking it for granted. I don't even know how to explain it to you. Like I was trying so hard, to be present, to be there, but I was not ready. Now if I had the opportunity now, it would be different. But I realized that we need to work towards something because even like people like, why don't you give a reading to somebody that is at the supermarket? Which, by the way, I did because that person is not there to receive a reading. That's not the right moment.
Right.
They're trying to get some groceries. They cannot go around just doing groceries like, oh shit, my grandmother is here. Like, wait, what? You
One,
know?
it's freaky as hell. I'm sorry, it's freaky as hell, right? And you get sometimes you get the looks like, Um, I'm always telling spirit, please leave me alone. I do this all day long. Please let me have a normal experience outside this house. Like unless someone truly, because I have had the experience where someone truly needed that message
Hmm.
in that moment, which hasn't been that many times. Because I
Hmm.
really ask, like, please let me go to the store and just have that peace and clear my mind because I'm constantly doing this all day long, and you just kind of need to set some boundaries with spirit. Otherwise, they will always come. They will keep coming.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're surgeons. They know exactly what you need to hear. I remember like the first time I actually channeled a little soul that was an abortion. I was like, oh shit, am I going completely crazy? I was at a spa, and this is actually how I developed, by the way, by being at a spa for 1 month, working 3 hours in the morning, completely alone in darkness, no music, no nothing, just like cleaning and just focusing on what I was doing, just observing my thoughts, like using that as a meditation, and actually playing with it. Because you were saying this like earlier, you said you have to have fun. Yeah, I'm teaching something that is exciting for me,
Right,
right? And I put a lot of games in my courses now because I'm like, this is how children learn, and we are children in the body of an adult,
right,
but we learn the most by training our intuition without even knowing that that's what we are doing, right? I love that. So this is how I developed, and I felt this child around him. Like, I just know. I don't know what this is. So I remember talking to the receptionist. I'm like, I think this is for the boss, but I don't want to talk to the boss because she's, this very tough woman. And she was like, "Oh, really? What are you feeling?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm feeling like somebody here is telling me um, they are like an abortion." I didn't even word it the right way. And
Mhm.
she started crying in front of me, and she started like panicking. And I'm like, "Oh my God, like we're at work, you know?" So that was a healing experience for her, even though she maybe was not necessarily ready for that. And I was not even like well trained to word things in the right way. And that's why sometimes, you know, you can even like hurt people. I've hurt a lot of people because I didn't know how to word things.
Right,
So
right, right.
but that doesn't mean that you give up. Like I was finding the excuse, you know, English is not my first language. Oh, so I don't do it. Like, what? You know English better than a lot of other people,
Right.
so just try. So we need to really put ourselves out there and support one another. That's why when I saw when you came back into my life, I'm like, let me go and see her. And I went, and I'm like, holy cow, I love it. I love your your way, you know, and I understand why people resonate with you, because I'm like, yes, yes.
Right.
So
T, I believe that if you feel called to helping, you don't charge, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. What I will tell you is in my seat where you get a lot of judgment for charging, and I can tell you that you just it's not something. If you want to do this, like say this is something I stepped in full time, like I retired from my career, my almost 11-year healthcare career, retired to step into this full time. And one of the things that I had to get away from was thinking that I couldn't create wealth in what I do spiritually, which is a misconception. So if you are able, and I'm not saying that you don't, I think there's ways to do things to give back where you don't have to always feel obligated
mm,
or feel like you can't create that wealth, because there's a lot of spaces that I open up to help and heal for free, like my healing circles and things like that, where I feel like you can find ways to give back to where you're balancing what you're doing, right? There's no that I'm just taking from what I'm doing and I'm just taking for people using these special gifts. But there's also that misconception that you can't create wealth in what you're doing, that your time somehow is not valuable and you shouldn't put that price on it. And I will always debate that, because I don't feel like you should ever feel like you can't. But if you feel like you want to do free stuff, or you want to give a reading and you don't charge for someone because that's just coming from you, that's that's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that part either. My only thing is where people start to make it seem like we can't, like we're not supposed to, like that's against the rules somehow. And I don't agree with that part. I have Spirit is actually the one that showed me that I could charge and that I should raise my prices. Like literally got a message from Spirit that was like, you need to raise your prices. And it was like, I can't do that. I just started charging. It was like, wait a minute, I can't do that. And Spirit's like, no, because when you're too cheap, people aren't going to really come. You're too cheap. And then if you're too high, of course you're not really known yet, so you need to find that balance. And it was
right.
blew my mind that I even got that message from Spirit, and I'm like, no, like that's
I
not
received from a client. I was charging, and I like now I'm charging because I'm started practicing again. I'm charging $33, $43, $44, because I like, you know, double numbers and all this stuff. This woman came to me, and her daughter came through, and her jaw. I still have the recording. Her jaw dropped. I'm like, yeah, like your daughter is here and say this and that. And then at the end of the reading, I'm like, why, like, did you react like that? You knew that I was a medium. She was like, well, because you charged so little that I thought that you were a scam. I'm like, wow.
right.
I'm like, she told me that. I'm like, thank you for your honesty. Makes sense.
Yes, because it's like not to say, like I'm not to say that you, like I said, not to say that you should, but if you're going to do this and you do it full time and this is your livelihood, you do have to be realistic, because the type of, and if you're someone who puts time and effort, like if you've ever had a one-on-one with me, how I do. I'm not sitting there with the clock and timing the shit. And there's a lot of things I just don't do. I feel like whatever the message, if you have a person who comes through, they come through. If they don't, they don't. If you got three people that come through, I'm not charging per, like, freaking, past level and stuff. I think if you know the time and effort that you put in, people aren't going to be mad at your prices. They're not going to be
Mm,
like, "Oh my god, you charge too much," because they know it's authentic and they know that you're putting your all into it. Especially, you can tell when someone cares. You can tell when someone's rushing you. You can tell when someone's
yes.
giving you a half-assed message, that they've told probably 10 people the same shit today. You can tell the authenticity behind the person. But I remember that in the beginning, Spirit was the one showing me like, no. And I remember one of the things I said was, "Show me how to do this, and you got me. Show me how to do this, and I'll be on board full time." And Spirit was like, "Oh, really?" That ask and you shall receive. And it's like, oh shit. Like, and I was still afraid to like let go of my job because it's all I knew. I was still
Mm.
terrified to do so. And it took me a couple months, but that, like, yeah.
Couple of
Um,
months is nothing. Yeah, there are people that take a couple of lifetimes, so it's okay.
um, D, I can do readings, but I'll do it probably towards the end of the morning show. Um, and I haven't been able to do as many healing circles because it's been very crazy for me. But now that a lot of my live classes are ending or ended, actually, all of them are ended now, I'm actually going to have more healing circles open. I have been doing them inside the tribe, and I will list an event. So you'll see the event, it'll say free. You have to be inside my Facebook group to participate because it's in a room in the group. So if you're in my Soul Tribe Healing group, then you'll be able to come. And I am going to be doing one. I want to say it's on the 20 something. I have to look at the date, but it's myself and two other beautiful healers. They're approved healers in my group that do it. Khadijah is one of them. You guys have probably seen her. And then now Louisa, who has stepped up. So do look for them in the group. I am doing the events for them as well as they're doing healing circles, and they're free. We don't ask for anything for those, just providing that space for you guys to come and heal, because I do believe in healing is the top priority. But like I said, if any of you ever like decide, okay, spiritual, this is what I'm going to do, this is my path, don't ever feel like you cannot price or charge for what you do. I know in the beginning, because I've done the same thing, we've done a lot of like learning and just kind of throwing stuff out there. And even when I decided to practice guided meditation, I was like, okay, I'm doing free guided meditation. Who wants a guided meditation to like test it out? But again, eventually you just kind of get your bearing and kind of find your craft, and then you kind of set your prices and go from there. And the thing is to not ever think that you're not worth
Mm,
that exchange of energy. We live in a world of currency. We live in a world of money. So you have to kind of remember that. Spirit knows that your bills need to be paid. Spirit knows you have to pay
absolutely.
electricity, right? And I am a firm believer that spirit will always have you, and they will always make sure you're okay. Not saying that you gotta, some people do make this and turn it into like $1 million thing, and they're big, and there are big names out there. You don't have to go to that extent, but you can, should you want to. That's the beauty of this. You really can take it as far as you want to go.
Mm, mm. I have this quote in my mind by Charles Eisenstein that said, many times I said to the Great Spirit, okay, I'm gonna create this community. I'm gonna do this. This time I'm committed. And the message from Spirit was, really? You said that many times before. What is different about this time? Let me test that conviction of yours.
Right,
So I
right.
have that quote in my mind, and it's exactly what you're saying. It's like it depends on, and it's so funny because there are so many breakthroughs that happen when you are starting developing and when you are following that nudge. You know what I do? I'm like, oh shoot, I would like to have a reading with Marianne DeMarco. She's amazing. She would definitely tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. And then you know what I do? I'm like, wow, she's $450 for like 15 minutes. I cannot get that right now. So you know what I do? I put myself in that situation with my mind. I'm like, okay, I'm in front of her. What is she
Right.
telling me? And literally the entire situation plays in my mind, and she tells me, oh, you have this, do you teach, do you do things? Yes, I do. Okay, yes, because I see you doing this and that, you should be doing. And I'm like, wow, I already have the entire reading already
Right.
available for free. I love that. Same thing with Matt Fraser. Like, oh, Matt Fraser would tell me, like, oh, your godmother is standing behind you. Oh, and your grandmother. And, they're talking about this, this, and that. And I'm like, I already know.
It's like I can hear them.
Exactly. It's like, why do I need somebody else to tell me what I already know? Right.
Right.
But when we decide to show up, because I was seeing you preparing the room, right? Because you didn't see me that I was on. I'm like, people do not know how long it takes for you to figure out how to run a Facebook group, how to create a YouTube channel, and breathing through the discomfort of, oh shit, why my video is not working? Like, let me look at a tutorial. People do not know there is a lot of work behind that. And when you do something for free here, T said, I just want to help others for free and heal others. We don't heal anybody.
Right.
They allow themselves to be healed. And not everybody is ready for that healing. We are just the vessel for that healing. But, people can pay $2,500 or $200,000, whatever, 2 millions and not get healed. And being for free and not get healed. Like, why? Because sometimes in the disease or in the sickness, there is a message, and healing doesn't mean that you integrate that message. So maybe you have to stay with that um, disease, right? So there are many things that I believe we become aware of, and many breakthroughs that allow us to truly find our balance here. And as you were saying, we don't necessarily have to be millionaires, but now that I have a child, it's like I need to put food on the table. Like, we need to do something about it. I'm not trying to make money off of people's pain, right? I give refunds if things don't go well, if they really like, it happened only once in like 5 years. So I'm like, or I can trust. I can just trust that if people want to judge my prices, they're going to do it, whether they are low or high or in the middle or none. No, judgment is always going to be there. But here it's really about me and like, okay, what with spirit, what are we supposed to do here? Right.
Right.
So a lot of breakthroughs.
One of the things in the beginning, I think in the beginning you're just eager to try and test everything, right?
Right.
You just want to test it out and try it. I can tell you what a lot of there was a lot of turning points for me in the beginning, T, where you just want people to heal, and that's exactly. I just didn't want people to hurt like I hurt. I didn't want people to stay in that
Mhm.
grief. One of the things I talk about is my first daughter lost at 15, which 20 something years of grief is, and not to say that I don't grieve her, but it's a different grief now. I'm not carrying the same hurt and the pain and the guilt and the shame and all of this shit that kind of stuck with that, right? So 20 something years of that is a very long time to stay stuck. And I just didn't want people to do that. I didn't want people to stay in that energy because one, they lost their belief or they disconnected to God or they angry and just said fuck everything, right? Or you can't see the world the same again. It's just a lot of things, a lot of layers that kind of go into that. So I get it wanting to just like help. But the same thing is what I noticed is there's all of these people that I had like supposedly friends and family, and not one of them would share my shit out. Not one of them would support me. Not one of them would like a post, whether it was because of their own judgment, whether it was
Mhm.
because of their own fear. But then you had people that would secretly reach out to me for free readings, reach out to me, to get services. And it's like, but you didn't even believe in me. You don't support me, but I'm okay to give you these free readings. And that became something that I had to stop being the go-to for a lot of people, and I had to retract and say no. Like, my services can't just be when you want them, when you need them,
Right.
because now you believe in me in the moment that you need a reading. But once I say go to my website, it's, oh, your website, it's like, wait a minute.
Mhm.
What's the difference? You would pay a stranger, so I think you got to kind of just work through all of these stages of your path and remember that your time is worth it and it's valuable, and spirit believes in you in that way, and they know that you have to understand your worth. Not to say that any of these gifts come with a price tag, but you have to put In the world that we live in, you have to put a value, a monetary value beside you. It comes hand in hand, and that's something that I had to understand, and it took me a long time to get that, because I was underselling and I was under promoting myself. And you just learn. You have to learn that it comes, and you are worth those price tags. You are worth that time and effort,
Mm.
and you will find a lot of people that are just as okay with paying the price to get the help and assistance that you're giving out. And don't ever feel like it's something that's bad or I shouldn't be doing this, because that's pre-programming also.
Yes, I love that.
I don't think we're ever, I don't know how you feel about that, but I don't think we're ever truly done with healing, um, because of your levels of this life. And then if you even tap into like past life, I think it's like a Pandora's box.
Yeah, yeah. I literally was thinking, I went back to sing the other day, and I'm like, I have a course, and the cool thing now with internet is that you can be mentored by the best out there,
Yeah,
whomever you want. Whereas before you had to travel to the place if you knew that that person existed. So I have this course with Cheryl Porter, who is amazing, and I've been having it for like 2 years now. But only recently I went back to it. I'm like, okay, I need to understand. I want to sing comfortably. I want to be comfortable when I'm singing, because sometimes I feel like I'm straining my voice. There's something that I didn't understand, and I know it has to do with breathing. And that day, I was like, okay, let me start from lesson number 4. And something inside of me said, no, start from scratch. Just be okay with starting from zero again. It's going to happen many times in your life. I'm like, okay, let's not go there. Okay, I'm going to start from lesson 1. And I unlocked the freaking breathing problem. And I was so happy. I'm like, oh my God, it was so easy. So I asked myself, how come I didn't unlock this before if it was this easy? Because, like, by the way, spirit connection is super easy. Our intuition is super easy to follow, in my opinion, now.
right.
Why was it so hard? Because I thought that it was impossible. And
Mm-hmm.
that thought that it was impossible was like what my focus. Whereas for one split second, I thought, let me try, like a little child. And that's when everything unlocked. So I'm like, wow, amazing. Let
I
me
think
just
the
saying
that
comfortably.
part, the doubt, oh, the doubt is killer. Just that little
Mm,
tiny ounce of doubt is a killer in connection.
mm.
But I feel like it's a natural thing that you just work through. Um, just a
To
natural
breathe
thing that
through.
you work through.
Yes. I'm actually going to interview Dave Gisselman. He does breath work. And I was like, breath work? This is like this new age bullshit. Oh my God. Changed my life. And now I'm interviewing him. And he always said, he always told me, because I talked to him about this money thing. I'm like, man, I want to, this was 2 years ago. And he was like, Sylvia, who would you be if you didn't have any fear? I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know that that person exists. And now I'm seeing that person becoming that person, like
Right.
stepping into, leaning into that fear over and over again, breathing through that fear, not caring about, like really not giving up. And it's very powerful who we can be, who we are.
When you just believe in belief in self is like one of the key things. I would not be here in this seat if I didn't jump into that belief of self first. You have to. A lot of people, and I see it, a lot of people go through that in the beginning because a lot of people turn on you, a lot of people shy away from you, especially coming into anything esoteric, spiritual, mediumship. No matter how many people want past level and messages, there's a lot of people that still look at you a certain way and kind
Mm,
of shy away from you, and so it gets a very lonely pathing. So you have to sit in that I can do this. And I don't know, like for me, it's always been a kind of a natural. You tell me I can't do it, I'm gonna do it. Like, can't tell me I can't do it. If you tell me I can't do it, I'm gonna fucking do it.
mm. I love that.
But I had to learn not to stay in the I'm gonna prove to anybody, because again, that's all ego, and it's not necessary, nor is it needed in your path. It's just something that we have to work through. I'm not doing particular questions right now. We're just kind of chit chatting in the morning show.
Well, I believe that just reading at that, honestly, I believe that the universe takes away the people that we're not supposed to have in our life. And we just like hold on to them so much because we feel like we deserve that level, when in reality we are here and we're like, no, I don't deserve somebody that truly loves me, somebody that, loves me unconditionally. And no, we're here. And also, cheating and betrayal, I believe that brings a lot of open communication with others. Like, okay, do we want to have an open thing? Because even in relationships, you can make your own rules. Even
Right,
if you are married, it's so scary because we are so like, what do I do if I have all this power? Who do I decide to be?
right,
Maybe if I am in an open relationship, I'm gonna be a swinger all the time. It's not necessarily like that.
right,
Oh, if I have this possibility of connecting with spirit, then I'm gonna, I don't know, play the lottery. I don't even know what we're so afraid of our power.
right,
But I believe that when we are hurting is personally, when I'm hurting, there are two things that are happening. One, I'm being ungrateful for what's already being given to me. And that's very humbling because the universe puts me, back on track when I'm like, why am I complaining so much? I
right,
mean, my life is pretty amazing. I can see, I can walk, I can talk, I can hear. I'm healthy. There are people that don't have this, first of all. And
right,
then when I'm hurting is because I'm getting far away from God. Like, everything is in divine order. Even if in my eyes it's chaotic, everything is in divine order. So these two things, together with asking, I ask my angels, I'm like, please come here and comfort me. Like, give me some insight that is, I know when the insight that I receive are not from me, because I'm like, oh, wow, I would not think that, especially in this state of mind.
right,
So I know that they're always available if we look for that connection.
right.
So that's the only thing that I wanted to share with Ashley.
It's easy to get caught and I hate to say it like this because I know you're hurting right now, but it's easy to get caught in victim mode. I've been there so many times, right? Poor me, this happened to me. I've been hurt. Everyone hurts me over and over and over again. And one of the biggest things, you guys and people who follow me that kind of know me, I will say, can you wipe your ass? If you can wipe your ass, that's a fucking blessing. Like real shit. Like there's just some things you kind of got to step off of the victim pedestal and come down and understand that we are a magnet to this shit. You do create your reality. There's nothing that doesn't come into your life on some level that you didn't call in, whether for a lesson, whether for an
Mhm.
experience on some level. So when we're in victim mode, we don't see that. All we see is the hurt and pain that happened to us. We are the victim of this pain. But on some level, we've called this in, we've seen it, we didn't look at it, spirit showed us, we didn't pay attention, we didn't get
Right,
the clues, we stayed in the situation, and
right.
now we're hurt, right? And we just talked about this at the beginning about death. Death is a part of life. There is not one person or animal or anything that's born and that will not die, but we're not taught how to handle it. We're not taught how to process it. And so it's always the end of the world when it happens. Can't fathom it, can't get it, can't, we're just stuck. And so instead of it, why does this happen to me? Like I try to always have everyone go back to those happy experiences. Don't hold on to why is this happening to me? There's got to be this other bigger reason that you're not getting. If everyone who's come into your life hurt you, what, not to say you deserved it, but what is like the correlation between these situations and you and these people? There's got to be a lesson here. You wouldn't keep continuously getting hurt, whether it's because you have poor ass boundaries, and that's the number one thing that comes out, right? We
Hmm.
set ourselves up, like you were saying. You think you deserve this, so you sit at this level, even though spirit is like, I'm trying to push you over here, but let me tell you, you can't call in a healthy relationship if you're not a healthy person in your heart space. Biggest fucking lesson I had to learn was my heart space. You cannot call in a loving, open heart if you are not the mirror of that loving, open
Mm.
heart. And I know a lot of people don't want to believe that. A lot of people don't want to admit it, but something's not right in your heart space if you keep calling in someone who would hurt you. And you, until you understand that, like truly become aware in that fact, you will keep blaming your trauma, you will keep blaming what has happened to you, you will keep being the victim in your life. And one of the things that I have to do with you guys is always give it to you very straightforward. If you do not become aware and really understand what's happening, you're going to sit in the same fucking energy. It's not going to change, right? One of the biggest realizations that I had to go through was I was part of the problem. What was the common denominator in everything that was happening to me in my life for 40, almost 40 plus years? The common denominator was me, not
I
my
love that.
mother, not my father, not the fucking past boyfriends. Common denominator, me.
Yeah. Personal accountability. Yes, I love that. Take notes. I was the common denominator. I love that. I love that.
And it sounds so ridiculous when you're in the shit
Right.
until you're just like, okay, I've subtracted, I've done the equations, I've done the fucking mathematical shit. What is left? Me. That's what's left.
And it's okay to feel selfish. I mean, I am humbled every time that I'm feeling like angry at life or I complain. Spirit humbles me, and I need to be okay with feeling like the embarrassment of feeling humbled again, once again. Swallow that pride and be okay with the fact that thank God, Spirit, just put me back on track. Because the fact that we are this aware is a gift. The fact that you actually, for example, are here and receiving this message, it means that in reality you're able to do that and say like, okay, so what I do personally when I do not understand something, I'm like, okay, this is a reflection of me. I do not understand if I truly have that in me. Like I'm still like in the process of understanding this lesson, but I will. Okay, thank you for this. Whereas in the past, I'm like, why me? Why me? 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 And I work mainly with mothers that have lost children, and there are many of them like say like, why me? As if like if it happened to somebody else, it was okay.
Right.
It's like it's reperceiving,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe I have, like yesterday, this boy, this young adult in spirit shared this message with me with his mom, and he said, because you had the chance to, okay, he said, if this didn't happen by suicide, you would have never followed the intuition of open a group for suicide people on WhatsApp, on Facebook, this and that, create a YouTube channel, starting. No, why? This I have nothing to do with this. But if this happens in your life, it was meant to happen because you had the strength to do this, this, and that. Another person like my mom, I asked myself, why didn't I transition then? When I tried, because my mom is 67, she would have not been able to create a WhatsApp group, a Facebook group, Zoom meetings, a podcast,
Right.
so there is something much bigger that we do not know. I like to say that we look at the road in front of us, but we don't have the map. Spirit is Google Maps, and we are just the driver. And it's like, this road seems to go nowhere, but trust that they know how to direct you.
One of the things I hope that you do, Ashley, is you realize that God is not putting you through anything. That's one of the things that I had to change.
Mm.
I lost a child, my first child. I was 15. I had just turned 15. And I was angry. And I can tell you that comment came out of my mouth and it immediately hurt me to say it. But that comment came out of my mouth like, why did I lose my child? But this person over here, that their child is shitty, the diaper's not changed, there you could tell this child wasn't fed. Why does she get to keep her child? And immediately I felt like a piece of shit to even fucking say it or think it. But that was how much anger I had in that moment of just, and every time I would see someone who was a shitty mother, who I felt judging them, right? In the moment, me judging them, and I would feel like, why does this person get to keep their child? And it was hurtful. And I went through a hard, like I went through a hard years of that judgment.
Mm,
and that condemning others, and that why me. So I get it. Like, I get shit happens, and you wonder, and you drive yourself crazy of why, the whys. And I know you said like your mom, left you, and that's not something that you necessarily did to her, but don't take it as God's doing something to you. Not everything is a test from God. Okay. And that's, I think sometimes we want to find meaning behind a lot of shit, but some shit just happens. Sometimes it's just life happens to us. The biggest part about it is what you do with your response to whatever it is. That's the biggest thing. Not necessarily is it you're being drugged through the mud, or that God is testing your strength in this life, but you have always this choice in the moment. What do I do with this pain? What do I do with this? And for over 20 years, I couldn't do anything with my pain but be angry. That's
mm,
all I could fucking do. And try to keep my shit together when I did have my second child. She kind of saved me because I was on a very destructive path. But guess what? My life didn't end. And it was just
mm,
like spirit had something else, even though I had many close calls and many moments that I shouldn't have woke up after drinking myself to oblivion at
mm,
15, doing all this shit at 15, right? So there was these moments where I just knew that I wasn't meant to go. It
mm,
wasn't meant for me to go. There was something, but I didn't know what. And I was still very angry. And I couldn't find that because at the time I didn't have anyone to kind of assist or grieve, because we didn't talk about it. We just went on with life. There was no
mm,
grief process. There was no working through it. So just try to take away of God is doing this to me, or life is doing this to me, and just remember, what do you take from the experience? What can you do with that experience? Whether it is use your voice, we found our voice, we found out how to use our voice. Whatever you do with it, that's the biggest part about it. Choose to do something with that. Don't sit in it, because then you just keep creating more shit, more hurt, more pain, especially for yourself. And what you're not helping yourself, are you? So if you can find some way to transmute your pain into something good in this life, that's everything.
mm. And also, like, I see, I talked to my husband's grandmother. She had an horrendous childhood. She has been given away because her mom didn't want her. She was a slave for other people in Venezuela, and she was starved until she was adopted by my husband's great grandparents. And she always tells me, life has been very hard, and it has been hard. But something came up a few months ago, and I asked her, and I asked myself, what are expectations on life? Why do we expect for life to be this thing where I never suffer, nothing ever happens to me, I never have to go through dark moments, only others. Like, my mom told me this. She has been like very um, a light in my life. She always tells me like things that make me reflect. She's like, Sylvia, how can you be a healer if you haven't done that work on yourself?
Right,
Because if you have not done the work, people are gonna feel that you are talking just from books, not from personal experience.
right,
So do the work, and then you can, and that's why you feel not confident, by the way, because you still have to look at those things that are triggering you, that you're trying to distract yourself from and deviate from because you don't want to look at that because it's too painful. When in reality, when you look at that, you bring light to that. And it's not that painful. That pain can be, as you were saying, transmutated, and it's going to become something beautiful. And then I can go out and try to teach, or at least share my way, with the hopes that somebody's going to take something and then do the work on themselves. Because at the end of the day, I think this, we are on an inner journey. We're walking each other home, but it's an inner journey that we're trying to do together. With what you were saying, we say the same things with different words in different ways, with different courses, with different, you know, stuff, vocabulary. But at the end of the day, we're all here to, you tell me about this. I mean, going through what you went through at 15 is not easy. Like, just because I see you like this now and I think, oh, she has everything together, she understood everything, or whatever I might think, doesn't
right.
mean that you don't have a past that you were able transform to become this thing. And it doesn't mean that it was not that it was easy, right? It's like, oh yeah, it took me like 2 months um, to overcome. No, it can take like a long time, but then there is always that something that always is trying to help you. And the help, you know what, the funny thing is that I thought healing is going to be like, oh, you just lay down and have a meditation with sounding balls and you are healed.
Right.
It looks more like an ayahuasca ceremony where you're pooping yourself, you're having diarrhea, you're vomiting everywhere, you're just screaming and shouting, and you don't
You're
know.
thinking of the spa. You're like, "Oh, I'm about to go chill in the spa, and I'm gonna have this beautiful moment, and I'm gonna get a massage and wake up fucking."
New. That's gonna happen just like that. Just like people, when people think like, yeah, I'm gonna transition, or somebody has transitioned, now they are these angels. Well, in reality,
Yeah, no.
they are just stepping outside of the body. It's not that they're stepping into angelship, right? So they still have their character. That's why people are like, oh, you're bringing him through with their character and everything. I'm like, yeah, because he's still the person that he was here, just not in a physical body. So anyways, we think that healing is this thing that happens to us, not something that we put it to work, not something that we are the catalyst
Harsh.
for.
It's harsh. You feel like you're getting your ass whooped a lot of the time. I can tell you some of the deepest releases had me in a ball in my bed in fetal position, crying my fucking eyes out in my
Mm.
soul. Um, it's not always like rainbows and butterflies. And some of the common things is I'm alone, nobody's here to show me, but I can tell you, from personal experience, I had to set the intention and find shit myself. Not everything is going to come with a teacher. Not everything is going to come on your lap with a teacher like, I'm here to teach you today about this, that, and the third. Some shit you just have to experience and understand and see. This is where awareness comes in. You have to learn how to become aware of not only yourself, but what spirit is showing you. Spirit speaks to every one of us on a very unique level. This is something she taught me, is learning how spirit speaks to you. And it was crazy because it was like, oh shit, spirit's been talking to me for a long time. Wait a minute.
Forever.
I haven't been getting the fucking message. Like,
What's wrong with my Wi-Fi here? Let's fix it. Let's call Comcast.
it's like, wait, oh, that's what's happening. Like, oh, okay, so that makes sense. We want everything. The thing is we're human beings are very lazy, and I can tell you I've been one of the lazy people who just want everything served, but it's not going to happen that way. It does take work, and it takes you to set the intention, but also now be open to receive what comes back, because your perception of what spirit is going to give you comes in breadcrumbs, comes in little snippets, comes in little pictures out of nowhere, comes in your dreams when you're dreaming and you're like, wow, that was a crazy dream. But if you don't journal it, you don't recognize it, you don't record it, you lose it. How do you go back? And this is where the work comes into it. This is where you have to take the initiative and accountability. It's your time to step up. If you know, and we talk about purpose, finding your purpose, one of the best ways is finding your purpose is sitting exactly where you are, Ashley, feeling unfulfilled, feeling
Yes,
exhausted, feeling
yes,
fucking miserable, feeling like everyone leaves you, feeling like nobody fucking understands you. There's a reason you don't feel like you belong, because you're not supposed to belong in the matrix. You belong doing something else. You just haven't figured that part out yet, right?
yes. So yes, we judge ourselves. It's like I like this little meme that said, "You cannot judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree." We're not. Yeah, we can try to fit. I remember I was trying to have a boyfriend that was like a nice boyfriend that I could just smoke weed with and just not talk about spiritual stuff because spiritual stuff was too hard. And at the same time, inside of me I had this turmoil. It's like this this is not it, there is something else. So I 100% what you were saying, just feel the sadness, just be okay with feeling. We don't want to feel because it's a lot. We feel a lot, we think that we are numb. No, we just feel a lot and we don't allow ourselves to feel. And then at some point, actually, you might be the one creating containers for other people to feel their own emotions and just be there for them and not, judge them, just create that space for them. So there is a reason as to why you're going through this. And I don't know if you were here at the beginning, but at the beginning, we were talking about how we cannot be selfish. At some point, the universe is going to bring us back on track. And what that means is that we are going to use all the tools that have been given us for our own personal awakening for others, because we're here thinking like, oh, my life is beautiful. I have, all these moms tell me, I mean, you were very young, but they tell me like, oh, I had a child, they were my life, everything was going fine, and then this happens and my life just changed forever. Like, well, yes, now the priorities are going to be different, right? You have been ignoring this spiritual side of things for so long, thinking that this is the reality. And
Right.
now something is like ringing the bell and saying, hey, remember me? I'm your essence. I'm trying to remind you that yes, you are going to die. So, and at the same time, you are immortal. Your spirit is immortal. But since as a human being, you're going to die, what are you truly doing with your life? And I remember that I was feeling so bad for myself. What am I doing with my life? Or, oh my God, I wish I knew this before. I would have started helping others before. I would have stepped into my path. No, everything has divine timing. And what was for a reason. What is the only moment that exists, that is allowing me to create the future that is reality, is just, a vision. And at the same time, I think we are the prayers of our ancestors. What's their return of investment? They invested in us. They fought wars. They gave birth to 10, 18, 20 children and saw
Right.
five, four, six of them die. They survived. They were always able to put food on the table. For what? For us to be here and complain, and that makes me feel bad. But at the same time, my spirit guides, they whip my ass, like what you were saying. It's like, oh, you pobrecita, no, I'm so sorry for you. Just stay here. Let me do some here.
Right.
No, you have to journal 15 journals or scream like crazy during my pregnancy. And my husband was like, you're a maniac. I'm like, I need to let this out. You do
Right.
not understand, and that's totally fine. I was going around the neighborhood in my car just to be able to scream on top of my lungs and then ask for a sign. And then the next day, and I would receive the sign. I'm like, oh yes, that's right. Okay, let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. So we are here like supporting one another in this journey,
Right.
right? But it's a very humbling journey. And when I hear you speak, I see your determination doesn't come from like anger or any other emotion, but your heart and the fact that, yes, I have been there and I had to feel it. I've been trying not to feel it. I've been trying to be okay. I've been trying to put a mask on. I've been trying to be this thing that I don't know what I was trying to be doing, to be whatever. But no, I had to feel it because that allowed me to be authentic. That allowed me to be real. And guess what? We crave for authenticity. I
Hmm.
crave for authenticity. And that's why I resonate with the mentors that I had, because I'm like, wow, he was a drug addict for 16 years. He was homeless and he was shot. He went to rehab 8 times and now he's an amazing medium. How was he able to forgive himself, love
Right.
himself? If he was able to do that, I can do that. I don't know how, but that was my thing. Or Jesus, like, how, what he knew something that I do not know. How was he able to do that? What does this mean? So I love questions, and I call myself a Jehovah Witness because you know that Jehovah Witness is I ask a lot of questions of all this spirituality stuff. Um, because the Great Spirit and life doesn't mind to be questioned. Only religions and dogmas mind to be questioned, and also we are here to find our own truth again, and we find it by reflecting, observing, just doing the work. That's
Right. Right. I love it. You know, Ashley, one of the things, and you'll always hear me talk about boundaries. I was someone who, of course, always was available for everyone else. Over time, you understand that you're compensating for the shit that you lack inside. Again, everything is going to turn around to self. everything is going to turn around itself.
Because nothing else exists.
The awareness is everything. I cannot stress it enough. Awareness is key. When you become aware of your traits and what you do and how you respond, you start to see like, fuck, okay, I'm aware now. Let me do something about it. I'm aware of myself. Now let me put up these boundaries. Boundaries are going to be very hard to instill, but once you do it, you will find less people using you and hurting you. It just happens because you start to understand your worth. Unworthiness was a huge thing that I had to fight in this life to find my worth. Huge battle. And there are times where it kind of starts to slip back in, and I'm like, no, 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 we've come too far for this shit. We're not going back to that. But that was a huge battle to
Mm,
find my worth in this life. And, losing my first daughter took me down a very dark path. I did a lot of stupid shit that made me my worth plummet. First, I didn't feel worthy because, God took my child away. So apparently I wasn't
right,
worthy, or somehow God didn't trust me with this life, right? So there was a lot of shit that happened with that, right? And then I did a lot of other stuff that just demeaned myself even further
right,
lower, right? And then the world and the universe did something. I had another daughter, but then that guy cheated on me. He cheated on me tons of times. Tons and tons of more times that just made me feel even worthless. So again, already someone who's at their low, you will call in people who again don't feel they're worthy because he never felt he was worthy. So
right,
we just bounced off and mirrored, right? So it's that constant thing. You just don't get it because no one's teaching you the right things. No one's bringing this. No one's showing you. No one's talking to you. And this is where we come in to have these conversations to bring this awareness so that we can understand that it all starts with you. We can sit here, we can talk about, yeah, this happened to me. I've been raped. I've been molested as a child quite a few times. You know what I mean? It's something that you got to get out of the victim. This happened to me, and get into the awareness of how you act because of it. You will always stay in this energy. You will never change. And it was up until last year, 2021, that I finally found a place where I could feel true happiness. And it was like, oh shit, this is what real happiness is. Not the mask, like you were just talking about, that mask you put on. And I'm okay. I was doing that shit for 20 plus years. I'm okay. I had to be, or in my mind, I thought I had to be for everyone else. Right. And then you finally realize that this mask can't hold up anymore. It doesn't work anymore. There's a
right.
malfunction and it's okay. I had this conversation with my niece last night because she recently lost her mom. Out of the blue, her mom, young. And I told her, one of the things that you have to do is stop being strong for everyone else. Stop feeling like you need to be strong for everyone else. Stop feeling like you can't lose your shit in this moment because you
Right,
need to feel it. Don't sweep it underneath the rug. Don't act like it doesn't exist. This hurt exists. Honor it. Honor your feelings. Honor your emotions. Honor that hurt and pain. As hard as that is to do, that's how you release it. That's how you truly let go of it, is by honoring what you're feeling, you know? And that's the other thing. You have to change I want to I am. And I know right now you're not going to understand that part because it's like how one of the things I asked a healer, I was like, because she was like, tap into this love energy. And I was like, how do you tap into something that you don't really understand, that you don't really
right,
know that you've had or ever felt? Like, and one of the things is I can love everyone, but the receiving of love is something that was lacking in my life. I didn't know what that felt like to receive love. And so it was hard to tap into that when it was just like, wait a minute, I've been lacking this my whole life. So you have to change that want and start to really experience that. And you have to create it. That's where creation comes into it, right? Creating these moments of happiness, not through other people, not through material shit, through self. And it's one of the hardest things I think you have to learn if you didn't learn it as a child. But you can learn it, you can get it, and you can create it for self. But it comes these kind of exercises to get there. I can't really explain what shifted exactly for me besides just working through the process.
right. Yeah, it's a constant work, and it still is to this day. And and it becomes beautiful to do it, you know. uh,
Right.
for me, it's like, allowing myself to just be and feel is what I've been desiring forever.
Right.
And I've been trying to just be something else but me. And it just feels so uncomfortable. It's like if you are a size 8, like your shoes is a size 8 and you're trying to put a size 6. It's in my work, or it's like a car and just putting water instead of fuel in my work, like you're gonna feel like size 8 and size 6 is a better example. So it feels like tight. Right?
Right. Struggling to get it on. Yeah. It's gonna fill out a place. It's a process, that's the deprogramming we talk about, all of that stuff. It's just um those lessons, and you just keep working through it, honoring yourself along the way. For some reason in this life, I chose to work through a lot of soul pain
Mm,
in this life. And it played out through other people, of course, because that's how we do it.
right.
But in this life, I chose to work through that. I chose to heal my soul on cosmic levels in this lifetime. That is
Mm.
not the easiest thing to work through.
The thing that you talk about it, and it cannot be understood because you're talking about it after the fact,
Right,
after you've done the work. But I have this very strong feeling that I said before coming back to Earth, whatever needs to happen in order for me to awaken, just make it happen. I need to wake up. I cannot live life in denial of who I am, and um, not present, and not remembering. So whatever needs to happen, just I'm okay with it. I know that eventually I'll remember that there was a reason as to why things went that way. Even if in that moment I might feel like completely desperate and abandoned and whatever, I know that I'm gonna get out of it. So I now know that this is like the promise that I made for myself, or the contract that I had, or something like that. But I'm so grateful that everything happened the way that it happened, because I would never be at this level of awareness otherwise. And I realized that I want to be here. I this is where I wanted to be, like in empowered, connected, able to um, use my awareness to see the circumstances and analyze the circumstances rather than feeling a victim of my circumstances.
right,
And that's something that comes with work, because again, we cannot think that life is just going to serve it on a plate. There is a reason as to why we came here in the first place. Otherwise, we would be somewhere else, where when we fall, we don't hurt our knees, where we don't have to work out to, you know, feel good or whatever, where we don't have to put the work. But in reality, when I read spiritist books, because I ask myself, what do angels do? Like, do they just are they just in the presence of God, just playing the trumpets and singing all the time? Maybe some of them are, because
right,
I don't know. But I had this beautiful dream. It was a lucid dream where I saw the angels going up and down from the sky and helping so much. And then I read in the book, one of the channel books by Chico Xavier, this amazing medium, the channel 500 books and more than 10,000 cards or letters from the other side. He said that um, angelship is the greatest form of service. You get there when you're kind of like able to serve 24/7. And who do you serve? Humans, because they're so brave and courageous that they came back here, and they're feeling all these things that they're feeling and still
right.
going. So
It's crazy when you think about that, because even, on a past level and basis, and everyone's like they're just like chilling on the other side. Not to say that they aren't, but there's levels to it. There's levels to it. There's things that, even crossing over, they have their own positions and jobs, and I always tell people I never try to conjure anybody, because I had a past life regression, and at the time, I still hadn't worked through a lot of stuff with my dad who had passed on. So one of the questions she asked my higher self was, could you call her dad? Wanting to
mm,
connect with her dad. And this is before I started to even tap in or try mediumship. I think it was right before, and this is what kind of made me find you. It was kind of like I wanted to know more. Like I couldn't wrap my head around what I had witnessed. And when, because you're kind of into self hypnosis, but when she was my higher self, which I thought was a bitch, my higher self is like, oh, she has no personality. Like, but I say she's mean, but she's not. She's just very to the point. So when my facilitator was asking her about my dad, she just plainly was like, he was busy. That was it. She wouldn't give no clues, wouldn't say. And I got to witness him connected to a source of light. That's it. I don't know anything further than that. They didn't give me no information onto what he was doing or why, but it blew my mind. And it's something that has always stuck with me after that, because what we think the other side is so far off what it is. And we're not privy to everything. We're not supposed to know everything, you know?
Yes. My husband says it all the time. There is a veil for a reason. Otherwise, the veil would not be there and you would know everything.
Right.
So if you hear like farts and burps and stuff, is the baby that is
Good.
just woke up.
He's good. You know what, Ashley, I also did, or I tried traditional therapy and it didn't work for me. I wouldn't tell anyone not to go and try it. Try traditional therapy, try psychiatry, go through the channels. I look at health and mental health, especially mental health, differently because I know the correlation of spiritual gifts and our gifts with mental health. And it kind of goes hand in hand a lot, and grief kind of goes hand in hand with just finding the faith in things to believe in, especially when you've lost. It's kind of hard to get that faith back. It's kind of hard to get into a place of understanding. So um, I don't do any traditional therapy, but I do work with trauma. One thing I do have is the experience of trauma. That's I have life experience with trauma. So I have people who book me and they're like, you're cheaper than my therapist. So it just, my sessions are what you need it to be. Okay, they're under tarot, but they're really what you need it to be. um but I feel like I will just warn you. One thing, I don't warn you guys, but I do tell you, I'm not the person who's going to coddle you. I'm not here to coddle you, and I'm not here to have you stay in victim mode. I'm never going to be that person. No matter if you're doing a one-on-one, no matter if you pay, even pay me, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. Spirit's message and my team are very to the point and they're very straightforward. And so it's more of a push to get you to get offended, be offended, versus sit in the poor me. You're not going to get that kind of energy from me. I just have, if you've been watching me, you know it. If you don't know me, you don't know.
Yeah, and the truth will set you free, right? It might not be sweet, but it will set you free. And I feel like when the truth arrives to us, we are ready for it. It might take us a while to kind of like integrate it, but our soul is ready for it. And yeah, my higher self, and however I call it, they are pretty
Right.
beachy, but that's okay because I like that. I need that. I need for somebody to take me and like go like this, like shake me, not like somebody just says, "Oh, poor you, I'm so sorry," and just
Right.
perpetrate that.
Right. I remember I tell you, my first past life regression, there were so many things my higher self kept saying, she's not ready. It won't happen today. And the facilitator's like, why? I've seen you do this. And my higher self is like, because she's not ready. It won't happen today. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me, higher self? Like this is what I paid for? Like this is what you but looking back, I understand because my higher self knew by her saying she wasn't ready, I would push further than I ever did. And within a couple months, I was like handling shit and searching and doing the research and showing up. And my higher self knew that. And that's all I needed to hear was, what do you mean I'm not ready? Oh hell no, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna heal this and I'm not gonna, sit here. So when you look back, you kind of can put two and two together and you're like, okay, shit. Um, Makes perfect sense. And Ashley, my prices vary. You'd have to go to the website. In the description, my website should be somewhere in the description. There's different prices on different packages. Go under tarot readings. I also do guided meditation, but there's a lot of different things on there. None of it says therapy, of course, because I am not a licensed therapist, just so you know. Um, and then if you, of course, my group, I don't know if my group is in the description, honestly. You just have to kind of look somewhere. If you need the link to the group, let me know because like I said, we do have the free healing circles as well. Those are very short. I don't do one-on-ones in the healing circle because it's too much energy to do one-on-ones in the healing circle. I kind of do group meditative state healing. And then the other healers, they kind of do their own style. As Sylvia, she has her own style and way of working with people, and her website and stuff is in the description as well. And you always can come back and listen to the lives. Um, Connect with us. I have these talks Monday through Friday, basically, is the morning show. Just bringing these kind of talks and in conversations to the table. I believe knowledge is power, and as long as you keep filling up your mind and spirit with more knowledge and ways, spirit is going to keep bringing you to where you need to be. You didn't come by this live on accident. You came on this day in this morning show. I mean, it's just like spirit's like, I set it up for you. Now, what are you going to do with it? And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And when you start to see those synchronicities, then you're just like, thank you. I can be grateful in this moment for spirit setting this up, and I can be in that gratitude and just say thank you.
Yeah,
Right?
we think that everything is so mechanical, like, oh, I just ended up here. This is a coincidence. No, there is so much work behind the scenes
Right.
that we will discover and we will be doing once we are there. That just like there is a lot of work behind what you created here, like the background. You went on a website to create the background. You chose the picture, you chose the font, you chose the color, then you chose the platform where to stream on, then you chose the people. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of work. So
You guys don't even know. Not to deter anyone, but this is definitely not for the half-ass. Like you really can't be half-ass. And
there's
from
no
the
shortcuts.
beginning, Spirit was like, "No, you got to show up." And I literally damn near show up every day until Spirit tells me to sit down and get rest, and then I have to sit down and get some rest because I actually will go into overdrive. That's my problem. I overwork. But then, Spirit has a lovely way of sitting me on my ass to get rest. And then I'll kind of regroup and come back, right? I know you just have to like ooh and ah like the baby.
I actually have to change him because he had a lot of poop, and now he's waiting to be changed. And I will leave you. But this has been an amazing chat. I love it, and I want to interview you as well.
Yes,
uh,
and anytime I can get you back on, we'll do it again and chop it up. I love it. I love it. I think this is awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, AG. I'm gonna call you AG, Ariana, for creating this. I see all the work, that is behind everything. I see your intention in your heart, and many blessings to all that you do and all the people that are coming to you. I know that are going to find exactly what they need to find. So, thank you,
Thank
thank
you
you,
so
thank you, thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Awesome.
I love you. I'm gonna leave the studio. Thank you again.
All right.
Many blessings. Bye.
And I am going to just kind of finish up the morning show, you guys, because we're almost 2 hours. So